Right now, there might be a snake plant sitting somewhere in your home that you think is bringing you good luck and attracting wealth. But what if I told you that depending on where it's placed, that same plant could actually be creating an invisible barrier that's blocking money from flowing into your life, repelling opportunities before they even reach you, and keeping you stuck in a cycle of financial struggle that has nothing to do with how hard you work or how much you deserve abundance. And here's what's terrifying. Millions of people have been given bad advice about snake plant placement, told to put them in locations that sound logical, but are actually energetic dead zones, or worse, active wealth repellent zones. And they're sitting there wondering why their finances never improve, why the manifestation techniques aren't working, why everyone else seems to be thriving while they're still struggling, completely unaware that a simple plant in the wrong location is sabotaging everything they're trying to create. And the worst part, the places where people most commonly put their snake plants, the spots that seem obvious and convenient and aesthetically pleasing, are often the exact locations that create the biggest blocks to prosperity, like putting a dam in a river and then wondering why the water isn't flowing downstream. But here's the second thing that's going to shake you up a little bit, and you need to hear this, because it could save you years of unnecessary financial struggle. Your home right now has specific energy channels, invisible pathways where wealth energy flows in and circulates throughout your space. And if you accidentally place a snake plant in one of these channels the wrong way, it's like putting a roadblock on a highway. Everything backs up. Nothing flows. The abundance that's trying to reach you gets stuck, diverted, or sent right back out of your home before you even know it was there. And most people have no idea this is happening because these energy channels are invisible to the eye. You can't see them the way you see walls or furniture. But they're real, they're powerful, and they're governing your financial reality whether you believe in them or not. The ancient practitioners of Feng Shui mapped these channels thousands of years ago, and modern energy workers can feel them, sense them, work with them. And what they've discovered is that a snake plant, which is an incredibly powerful energy amplifier, can either enhance the flow of these channels or completely block them depending on its placement. It's like the difference between putting a fan in front of an open window to pull fresh air in versus putting it in a closed corner where it just circulates stale air. And here's the third thing, the thing that should make you want to check your home right now. If you've been trying to manifest abundance, if you've been doing affirmations and visualizations and all the spiritual work, but your financial situation hasn't changed significantly, there's a very good chance that you have a snake plant or another large plant in one of the blocked locations I'm about to reveal to you. And the moment you move it, the moment you clear that energetic blockage, things can shift fast. Like, startlingly fast. I've seen people move a plant from a blocked location to a power location and receive unexpected money within 48 hours. Not because the plant created money out of thin air, but because moving it removed the dam that was blocking the flow that was already trying to reach them. So this video isn't just information you can use someday when you get around to it. This is urgent intelligence that you need to apply as soon as possible. Ideally today, ideally within the next hour if you have a snake plant in your home. Because every day that plant sits in a blocked location is another day that wealth is being repelled from your life. And you didn't work this hard, you didn't come this far. You didn't survive everything you've survived just to have your abundance blocked by a plant in the wrong corner. Now, before we dive deep into the specific locations you need to avoid, I need you to understand how to consume this information, because this isn't a casual video you can have playing in the background while you're doing dishes or scrolling through your phone. This is an auditory transmission that requires your full attention, because I'm going to be giving you specific spatial directions, describing locations in your home, explaining energy flows that you need to visualize and understand. If you miss one detail, if you zone out for 30 seconds, you might misunderstand where the blocked locations are and accidentally move your plant from a neutral spot to a worse spot. So, I need you to really listen. Put down whatever else you're doing. close the other tabs, take a breath, and give me your complete attention for the next little while because what I'm about to share with you has the potential to completely unlock your financial flow, but only if you understand it correctly and apply it accurately. This isn't theory. This isn't entertainment. This is practical energy work that produces measurable results when done right. So let's treat it with the respect and attention it deserves. All right, let's start with the most important blocked location, the one where I see people placing snake plants more than anywhere else, completely unaware that they're creating a massive wealth block, and that location is directly across from your front door, on the wall that faces the entrance. Now, you might be thinking, wait, isn't the front door area supposed to be good for prosperity plants? Isn't that where energy enters the home? And you're right that the front door is where energy enters, which is exactly why you don't want to put a large, spiky plant like a snake plant directly in line with that entrance. Think of it like this. Imagine you're inviting guests to your home, and the moment they walk through the front door, there's a wall of sharp swords pointing at them. Are they going to feel welcome? Are they going to want to come in and stay? Or are they going to feel repelled, uncomfortable, like they're not wanted? Energy works the same way. When abundance energy, opportunity energy, wealth chi tries to enter through your front door, and the first thing it encounters is a snake plant with all those sharp, upward pointing leaves facing it like spears. It reads that as a hostile environment. It reads that as, "You're not welcome here," and it backs away. Snake plants are incredible guardians and protectors. Those sword-like leaves are literally designed to cut through negative energy, to protect spaces from harmful influences. But when you position them facing the front door, they're protecting you right out of your abundance. They're cutting through the positive energy that's trying to enter, along with any negative energy. They can't discriminate. They just cut. So, if you have a snake plant on the wall, directly across from your front door, on a table or a shelf or the floor, that's the first thing I need you to move today. Not tomorrow. Not when you have time. Today. Because that plant is literally standing guard against your wealth, preventing opportunities from entering your home, keeping abundance at bay. And I know that sounds dramatic, but I promise you, the moment you move that plant, you're going to feel a shift in the energy of your entryway. It's going to feel more open, more welcoming, more flowing, and within days, you're going to start noticing opportunities showing up that weren't there before. Let me tell you about Karen from Denver, Colorado, because her story is going to make this so much more real for you. Karen had a beautiful snake plant that she'd owned for 3 years, and she kept it on a console table directly across from her front door because it looked perfect there. It was the first thing you saw when you walked in, tall and striking and architectural. Karen loved that plant. But what Karen didn't love was her financial situation. She'd been stuck at the same income level for those same 3 years. She couldn't figure out why she never got promoted, why clients never seemed to follow through, why opportunities would appear to be coming her way, but would always fall through at the last minute. She tried everything: vision boards, affirmations, gratitude journals. Nothing seemed to create lasting change. Then one day she attended a workshop on home energy, and the teacher mentioned this exact principle about not placing spiky plants directly across from the front door. Karen had one of those light bulb moments. She went home that very day, moved her snake plant from the console table across from the door to the far corner of her living room, a power position we'll talk about later. Within 1 week, a former colleague reached out with a consulting opportunity. Within 2 weeks, her boss mentioned a new position opening up that Karen would be perfect for. Within a month, Karen had a new job title, a $15,000 raise, and 2 consulting clients, bringing in an extra $1,000 a month. 3 years of stagnation broken in 30 days by moving 1 plant. Now, the second blocked location that you absolutely must avoid, and this one might surprise you, is in the center of your home. Some people read about placing plants in the center to balance energy, and they think that means literally the middle of the house. But here's what happens when you put a snake plant in the center of your space. You're essentially putting a stop sign in the middle of an intersection. Energy needs to circulate through your home. It enters through the doors and windows, flows through the rooms, serves its purpose, and exits to make room for fresh energy. It's like breathing, in and out. When you block the center, you're preventing that circulation. Energy gets trapped. It becomes stagnant. And stagnant energy is the opposite of abundant energy. Abundance is flow. Abundance is movement. Abundance is circulation. So, when you put a large plant with dense energy like a snake plant right in the center of your home, you're creating what feng shui practitioners call a heart blockage, because the center of the home represents the heart of the space. And just like you don't want a blockage in your physical heart, you don't want one in the heart of your home. Now, you might be thinking, but I don't have a plant in the exact center of my house, because that would be weird. And you're probably right. Most people don't have something sitting in the literal geometric center. But here's what to watch out for. If you have an open floor plan, and there's a particular area where multiple rooms converge, where you can see into the kitchen and the living room and the hallway all at once, that convergence point functions energetically as the center, even if it's not the architectural middle. That's where you don't want your snake plant. Also, if you have a foyer or an entryway that opens up into the main living space, that threshold area between the entrance and the heart of the home is another place to avoid. You want that transition space to be open and flowing, not blocked by a large plant. Think of your home like a body. The front door is the mouth, where nourishment enters. The center is the heart, where energy is distributed. The back of the home is where things are processed and released. You wouldn't want a blockage in any of those areas in your body, and you don't want them in your home either. And before we continue, I want to hear from you, because this is a conversation, not a lecture, and I want to make sure I'm serving you with exactly what you need. Drop a comment below and tell me, do you currently have a snake plant in your home? And if so, where is it located? Just describe it briefly, like near my front door, or in my bedroom corner, or I don't have one yet. I'm genuinely curious because understanding where you're starting from helps me create future content that meets you exactly where you are. And here's the thing, when you engage in the comments, when you participate in this community, you're not just helping me, you're actually activating your own manifestation energy, because participation is action, and action is what transforms intention into reality. So go ahead, take 10 seconds and drop a comment telling me about your snake plant situation. Now let's talk about the third blocked location. And this one is controversial because some feng shui schools actually recommend this spot, but I've seen too much evidence to the contrary to ignore it. And that location is directly in your bedroom window, especially the window that gets the most light. Here's why this is problematic. Yes, snake plants produce oxygen at night, which makes them great for bedrooms in general. And yes, they're low maintenance and can handle the fluctuating light conditions of a bedroom. But when you place them directly in the window, especially a window that faces the street or faces other buildings, you're essentially creating an energy shield that reflects abundance back out of your space instead of allowing it to settle and integrate. Windows are interesting from an energy perspective because they're simultaneously openings and barriers. They let light in but keep weather out. They offer views but maintain separation. And when you put a protective plant, like a snake plant, directly in that liminal space, you're amplifying the barrier aspect and diminishing the opening aspect. Think of it like this. Imagine you're trying to receive packages and you put a guard dog right in front of your mailbox. That dog is going to bark at the mail carrier. It's going to make the delivery person nervous. They might just skip your house rather than deal with the hassle. Your packages, your deliveries, your abundance can't get through because there's a guardian in the way doing its job a little too well. That's what happens when you put a snake plant directly in your bedroom window. It's guarding you so effectively that it's also guarding against the financial blessings that are trying to reach you. Now, this doesn't mean you can't have a snake plant in your bedroom. In fact, bedrooms are generally excellent locations for these plants, but you want them in the corner of the room, on a nightstand, on a dresser, on the floor, in a corner. Not directly in the window, blocking the flow between your inner space and the outer world. You want that window to remain an opening, a portal, a place where abundance can enter freely without having to get past a guard first. There's a woman named Jessica from Portland, Oregon, who learned this lesson in a powerful way. Jessica had 3 snake plants in her bedroom, and she loved them. They helped her sleep better. They made the space feel alive and fresh, but she kept all 3 of them on the wide windowsill that ran along one entire wall of her bedroom. It looked beautiful, very Pinterest-worthy, very plant mama aesthetic. But Jessica's finances were a mess. She was a graphic designer working freelance, and she could never seem to land the high-paying clients. She'd get close, they'd express interest, and then they'd ghost her or choose someone else. It was like she was perpetually almost successful, but never quite there. One day she was talking to a friend who studied energy work, and she mentioned her plant setup. Her friend immediately said, "Oh no, you've got to move those out of the window. You're blocking your abundance portal." Jessica was skeptical, but figured it couldn't hurt to try. She moved all 3 plants to different corners of her bedroom, leaving the windowsill completely empty. Within 3 days, a client she'd pitched to 2 months earlier suddenly emailed saying they wanted to move forward with a $5,000 project. Within 2 weeks, she got referred to a company that needed ongoing design work, essentially a retainer that would bring in $3,000 a month consistently. Jessica couldn't believe how fast things shifted. She jokes now that her plants weren't just in the window. They were quite literally blocking her windows of opportunity. Now, the 4th block location is one that I see all the time, and it breaks my heart because people think they're being clever, think they're maximizing their space, but they're actually creating a massive block, and that location is in the bathroom, particularly near the toilet or bathtub. I get it. Bathrooms can be dark and dingy, and a snake plant seems perfect because it can handle low light and high humidity. And if you want to put a small plant in your bathroom for air purification purposes, that's not the end of the world. But here's what you need to understand. In feng shui, and in many energy traditions, bathrooms represent drainage. They're where waste leaves the body and leaves the home. They're necessary, of course, but energetically, they're exit points. And when you put a prosperity symbol like a snake plant, which is meant to attract and hold wealth energy, in a room that's designed for releasing and draining, you're creating a confused, energetic signal. It's like trying to fill a bathtub with the drain open. Some energy might accumulate, but most of it is going right down the drain, along with everything else that goes down drains in bathrooms. And it gets worse if your bathroom is in certain locations in your home's energy grid. If your bathroom happens to be in the wealth corner of your house, which is the far left area when you're standing at the front door looking in, you already have a challenging situation because you've got a drainage room in your prosperity zone. That's not ideal, but it's also not something you can change without major renovation. But if you then add a snake plant to that bathroom, you're essentially doubling down on the drainage energy. You're taking a plant that should be attracting wealth and putting it in a location where everything flows out. The plant can't do its job. It's like hiring a security guard and then stationing them in a room with no doors. They're willing to protect you, but there's nothing for them to guard. So if you have a snake plant in your bathroom right now, especially if it's near the toilet, or in a bathroom that's in your home's wealth corner, move it today. Find it a better home where it can actually do the wealth-attracting work it's designed to do, instead of having all its energy literally lushed away. Let me share the story of David from Houston, Texas, because it perfectly illustrates just how much this bathroom placement can block your flow. David is a real estate agent, and he was having the worst year of his career. In a booming market where everyone around him was closing deal after deal, David couldn't seem to close anything. He'd get listings, he'd show properties, he'd get to the negotiation phase, and then deals would fall apart at the last minute. It was like money was slipping through his fingers no matter how hard he worked. He was stressed, exhausted, and seriously considering changing careers. One evening, he was venting to his sister, who's into spiritual practices and energy work. She asked him to describe his home setup, room by room. When he mentioned that he kept a large snake plant in his bathroom because it was the only room with consistent humidity, his sister literally gasped. She explained this exact principle about not putting prosperity plants in drainage rooms. David moved the plant that same night, putting it in the corner of his home office instead. The next morning, he got a call from a client he'd worked with 6 months prior, asking if David could help them sell their property and find a new one. That was 2 transactions right there. Within 3 weeks of moving that plant out of his bathroom, David closed 4 deals. His dry spell was over. His confidence returned. And he now tells everyone that moving one plant changed his entire financial trajectory. Now, stay with me, because what I'm about to reveal is even more important than the specific block locations. And if you understand this principle, you'll be able to evaluate any location in your home and intuitively know whether it's going to support or block your wealth. The principle is this: snake plants should never be placed in locations that represent outflow, separation, or barriers. They should always be placed in locations that represent accumulation, welcome, and flow. Think about the purpose of each room and each area in your home. Your entryway represents welcome and incoming energy, so you want it open and flowing, not guarded. Your living room represents gathering and accumulation, so that's generally a good place for a wealth plant. Your bedroom represents rest and regeneration, also generally good, especially in the corners. Your kitchen represents nourishment and transformation, excellent for prosperity work. Your bathroom represents cleansing and release, not good for wealth plants. Your closets represent storage and things that are hidden away, generally neutral but not ideal. Your windows represent the threshold between inner and outer, better left open than blocked. Once you understand this framework, you can evaluate any location in your home through the lens of, does this area represent accumulation or release? And make your decisions accordingly. And if this is making sense, if you're starting to see your home through new eyes, if you're beginning to understand how your environment has been either supporting or sabotaging your financial flow, then hit that like button right now. Because when you like this video, you're telling me that this information is valuable, that you want more content like this, and that you're actually taking this seriously enough to engage with it. And that engagement, that action, it actually strengthens your manifestation practice because you're demonstrating commitment. You're showing the universe that you're not just passively consuming information, you're actively participating in your transformation. So go ahead, hit that like button, and let's keep going, because we're about to get into even more powerful territory. Now let's talk about the 5th block location, and this one is subtle, so pay close attention. The location is against a wall that's shared with a neighbor, particularly if you live in an apartment, condo, or townhouse. Here's what's happening energetically. Walls that separate your space from someone else's space are energetic boundaries. They're lines of demarcation that say, this side is mine, that side is yours. And when you place a wealth-attracting plant like a snake plant directly against that boundary wall, especially if it's the only plant you have, or your largest plant, you're essentially pushing your wealth energy toward the boundary instead of keeping it circulating in your space. It's like the plant is trying to attract prosperity, but instead of pulling it into your home, it's pulling it toward the neighbor's side of the wall. This is especially problematic if your neighbor's financial energy is stronger than yours. If they're more abundant, more successful, more established, their energy can actually pull across that boundary and absorb what your plant is trying to attract for you. Now, I'm not saying you should never place any plants against shared walls. Small plants, decorative plants, plants that aren't specifically tied to your prosperity practice, those are fine, wherever they fit in your space. But your main wealth plant, your snake plant, that you're intentionally using as a manifestation tool, that should be on a wall that's completely yours, that doesn't border anyone else's space. Interior walls are best, walls that face into the center of your home rather than away from it. Walls in corners where 2 of your own walls meet, These locations keep the energy contained in your space, circulating for your benefit, building momentum, creating the accumulation that eventually manifests as tangible wealth. Think of it like this. If you were going to plant a money tree in your yard, you wouldn't plant it right on the property line where the roots might grow into your neighbor's yard and the fruit might fall on their side. You'd plant it solidly in your own space where you get to enjoy all the benefits. Same principle applies indoors with your energetic wealth practices. There's a couple in Chicago, Illinois, Sarah and Mike, whose story really brings this principle to life. They lived in a small 2-bedroom condo, and they kept their large snake plant against the wall that separated their living room from their neighbor's unit. They'd been in that condo for 4 years, both working decent jobs, but they could never seem to save money. Every time they'd start to build up their savings, something would happen. An unexpected expense, a medical bill, car repairs. It was like they were on a financial treadmill, working hard but getting nowhere. Meanwhile, they couldn't help but notice that their neighbors seemed to be thriving. New car, expensive furniture, always talking about vacations. Sarah started to resent them, feeling like good things came easily to them, while Sarah and Mike had to struggle for everything. Then Sarah learned about this principle of not placing wealth plants on shared walls. She realized their snake plant had been sitting on that shared wall for the entire 4 years they'd lived there. She moved it to the opposite wall, an interior wall that was completely their own. Within 2 months, Mike got an unexpected promotion with a $12,000 raise. Sarah got a bonus at work that they hadn't anticipated. And for the first time in years, they were able to save consistently without constant setbacks. Sarah now jokes that they'd been essentially feeding their prosperity to their neighbors for 4 years and didn't even know it. The 6th blocked location is one that people don't even think about, but it's surprisingly common and surprisingly problematic. And that location is on top of or next to electronics, particularly your television, computer, or Wi-Fi router. Here's what's happening. Electronics emit electromagnetic fields, EMFs, which disrupt natural energy flow. They create a kind of energetic static that interferes with the plant's ability to do its work. Now, snake plants are actually great at absorbing some EMFs and purifying that energy, which is why people often place them near electronics in the first place. But when you're trying to use that same plant as a wealth attractor, you're basically asking it to do 2 jobs at once. And the EMF absorption job is so demanding that there's not much energy left for prosperity work. It's like hiring someone to be both your accountant and your personal trainer, and expecting them to excel at both simultaneously. They might do okay at each, but they're not going to be exceptional at either, because their energy and attention are divided. Additionally, the electromagnetic interference from devices can actually scramble the energetic signals your plant is broadcasting. Remember, plants operate on subtle energy frequencies. They're sending out invitations to abundance, calling in prosperity, holding a vibration that attracts wealth. But when that signal is being broadcast through a field of electromagnetic static, it gets garbled. It's like trying to have a clear phone conversation while standing next to a radio that's tuned between stations. The message is there, but it's not getting through clearly. So, if you have your snake plant sitting on your TV stand, on your desk, right next to your computer, on a shelf with your Wi-Fi router, or anywhere else where it's in constant contact with strong electronics, move it. Give it some space. Give it some distance from the electromagnetic chaos so it can broadcast its prosperity signal clearly and purely. 3 to 5 feet away from major electronics is a good rule of thumb. Your plant will be healthier, and your wealth attraction will be stronger. Now, before we go deeper into the solutions and the power locations where your snake plant should actually go, I need to check in with you again because we're covering a lot of ground and I want to make sure you're implementing this information, not just collecting it. So here's what I want you to do. If you have a snake plant in any of the 6 blocked locations I've described so far, and you're committed to moving it today, drop a comment that says, "I'm moving it today." Just that simple phrase, because when you declare your intention publicly, when you make that commitment visible, you activate something powerful in your subconscious mind. You're no longer just thinking about doing it someday. You're declaring that you're taking action now. And that shift from passive consumption to active participation is what turns information into transformation. So if you're ready, if you're committed, comment right now. I'm moving it today. All right, the 7th block location is going to seem counterintuitive because it's a place where a lot of wealth symbolism gets concentrated. But it can actually backfire if you're not careful. And that location is directly in front of or blocking your home office door or your workspace entrance. If you work from home, if you have a dedicated office or studio or creative space, the entrance to that space is incredibly important energetically because it represents your ability to access your work, your productivity, your income-generating capacity. When you put a large plant like a snake plant right at that threshold, particularly if it partially blocks the doorway or makes you have to squeeze past it to enter, you're creating a psychological and energetic barrier between you and your work. You're making it harder to access your productivity. You're creating resistance between you and your income. Even if you love your work, even if you're passionate about what you do, that physical barrier translates to an energetic barrier that can manifest as procrastination, creative blocks, difficulty focusing, or challenges landing clients and making sales. Now, having a snake plant inside your office, in a corner or on a shelf or desk, that's generally excellent. Offices are great locations for prosperity plants because they're directly connected to your income-generating activity. But the entrance needs to be clear, open, inviting. You should be able to walk into your workspace easily, without obstruction, without having to navigate around things. That easy entry creates energetic momentum. It signals to your subconscious that work is accessible, that income is available, that prosperity is within reach. So if you have a plant blocking or partially blocking your office entrance, move it deeper into the room where it can support your work energy without obstructing your access to it. And this principle applies to any door in your home. Really, doors are portals. They're transition points. They should be honored as openings, not treated as walls where you can prop things up. Keep the areas immediately around your doors clear, and you'll notice how much more easily energy and opportunity flow through your life. The 8th and final blocked location I want to warn you about is one that people do all the time thinking they're being smart about space utilization, but it actually creates a sneaky energy trap. And that location is in a corner behind a door, the kind of corner that gets hidden when the door is open. This seems like a clever use of dead space. The plant is out of the way. It's not blocking traffic. It's getting light from nearby windows. But here's the problem. Anything you place in a corner behind a door is essentially hidden, forgotten, neglected energetically. It's like you're putting your wealth plant in timeout, sending it to the corner where it can't participate fully in the energy of the room. And if your door is frequently open, which most interior doors are, that plant is literally behind a barrier for much of the day, cut off from the flow of energy through the space. It can't attract wealth effectively because it's not engaged with the active energy of the room. It's in the shadows, in the forgotten space, in the energetic overflow area. And whatever you hide tends to hide from you. If your wealth plant is hidden behind a door, your wealth will hide from you too. It will remain elusive, just out of sight, always there theoretically, but never quite manifesting tangibly. If you have limited space and corners behind doors seem like your only option, choose a different corner. Choose the corner that's visible when you enter the room. That's part of the active space that you see regularly and can interact with. That's where your plant will thrive and where it can do its prosperity work effectively. Remember, this plant is meant to be a partner in your abundance practice, and partners need to be engaged, present, visible. They can't help you from hiding. So give your snake plant a place of honor in your space, somewhere you see it daily, somewhere you can talk to it and care for it, and benefit from its energy fully. It deserves that. And so do your wealth goals. Now, we're going to transition into the most exciting part of this transmission, which is revealing the power locations where your snake plant actually should go for maximum wealth attraction. But before we do that, I want to make sure you don't miss the next video I'm creating, because it's going to build perfectly on what you're learning today. So if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. Because next week, I'm releasing a video about the 3 prosperity rituals you should do with your snake plant once it's in the correct location. Practices that amplify its wealth-attracting power exponentially. And the week after that, we're diving into other plants that can work alongside your snake plant to create a complete abundance ecosystem in your home. This channel is your resource for practical spirituality that produces real results. And if you're resonating with this content, there's so much more waiting for you. So subscribe now, and let's make sure you don't miss anything. All right, now let's talk about where your snake plant should go. And I'm going to give you the top 3 power locations that I've seen produce the most dramatic and consistent results for wealth manifestation. The first and most powerful location is the far left corner of your bedroom when you're standing at the bedroom door looking into the room. This is the wealth corner according to Feng Shui, and it's specifically powerful in the bedroom because you spend roughly 1/3 of your life in that space, which means you're spending 8 hours every night in close proximity to your wealth plant, breathing the oxygen it produces, absorbing its frequency, allowing it to program your subconscious while you sleep. This is where I've seen people manifest the most dramatic financial shifts. Jobs with $50,000 salary increases, unexpected inheritances, business ideas that become 6-figure revenue streams. There's something about combining sleep, which is the most receptive state your brain enters regularly, with a prosperity plant in your wealth corner that creates manifestation momentum like nothing else. When you place your snake plant in this location, do it with ceremony and intention. Clean the corner first. Vacuum, dust, wipe down the walls. You're creating sacred space for your prosperity partner. As you place the plant, speak your intention out loud. Say something like, "I place you here as my abundance guardian. Together we attract wealth and opportunity. Thank you for supporting my financial growth." Then, make it a practice to acknowledge the plant every morning and evening. A simple, "Good morning, thank you for attracting wealth to me," is enough. You're building a relationship with this plant and with your own abundance consciousness. You're making prosperity a daily practice rather than a distant wish. And that consistent attention, that regular engagement, that's what activates the full power of this placement. The second power location is the far left corner of your living room when standing at the main entrance to that room, looking in. The living room is where you spend your waking hour, where you gather with family and friends, where you entertain and socialize and enjoy life. It represents your public face, your social connections, your network. And your network is one of the most powerful sources of wealth and opportunity. Jobs come through connections. Business opportunities come through introductions. Investments and collaborations and partnerships all flow through your social network. So, when you place a prosperity plant in your living room's wealth corner, you're not just attracting money directly, you're activating your network's ability to channel opportunities to you. You're making yourself magnetic to referrals, introductions, collaborations, and all these social pathways through which abundance flows. People will start thinking of you when opportunities arise. Your name will come up in conversations about projects and positions. You'll find yourself in the right place at the right time more frequently. That's the magic of activating your living room wealth corner with a snake plant. And the third power location, one that many people overlook but that I've found to be remarkably effective for certain types of wealth manifestation, is in your kitchen near the stove, but not so close that it gets damaged by heat. The kitchen represents nourishment and transformation. It's where raw ingredients become finished meals, where separate elements combine to create something new. That transformative energy is powerful for manifestation because all manifestation is transformation. You're transforming invisible potential into visible reality. You're transforming ideas into income. You're transforming effort into reward. When you place a snake plant in your kitchen where it can participate in that transformative energy, you're essentially enlisting it in the alchemical process of turning your desires into material abundance. This location is especially powerful if you're trying to manifest through creative work, entrepreneurship, or any path where you're literally creating value and transforming it into money. The plant absorbs the transformative frequency of the kitchen and broadcasts it into your financial reality. We're going to go even deeper into working with these power locations in Part 2, where I'll share specific rituals, timing considerations, and advanced techniques for maximizing your snake plant's wealth, attracting power. But before we get there, I want to make absolutely certain that you understand the core message of this entire transmission. So stay with me for just a few more minutes, because what I'm about to say might be the most important piece of all. The block locations I've warned you about, the places where your snake plant could be sabotaging your wealth, those aren't mystical, arbitrary rules handed down from ancient times that you have to follow blindly or else face punishment from the universe. They're practical applications of how energy moves through space, and you can verify their truth through your own experience. If you have a snake plant in a blocked location and your finances have been stuck or struggling, move the plant to a power location and watch what happens. If you see positive shifts, shifts in opportunity, shifts in income, shifts in how you feel about money, then you'll know this information is real and valuable, regardless of whether you fully understand the mechanism behind it. And if you don't see shifts, then you'll have gathered your own data and can make your own decision. I'm not asking for blind faith. I'm inviting you to experiment, to test, to discover through your own experience what works. But here's what I know from years of working with these principles and from hearing hundreds of stories from people who have applied them. This stuff works. Not because plants have magical powers, not because the universe is superstitious, but because everything is energy, and how you arrange your physical environment affects how energy flows through your space and through your life. It affects your subconscious mind, your mood, your decisions, your actions, and therefore, your results. Your snake plant in the right location becomes a daily reminder of your commitment to prosperity. It becomes an anchor for your wealth consciousness. It becomes a partner in your transformation. And that partnership, supported by correct energetic placement, creates results that can look magical from the outside but are actually the natural outcome of aligned energy meeting, consistent intention meeting, practical action. So move your plant if it's in a blocked location. Place it in a power location with intention and care. Tend it, talk to it, thank it, and watch what unfolds. Your abundance is waiting. Your opportunities are ready. And sometimes all it takes is moving one plant from the wrong corner to the right corner to unlock everything that's been trying to reach you. I'll see you in Part 2, where we're going even deeper into the rituals and practices that amplify your snake plant's power, the mistakes that can sabotage even correct placement, and the success stories that will inspire you to trust this process fully. Until then, take action. Move your plant and prepare for the abundance that's about to flow into your life. Welcome back, and I'm so grateful you're here for Part 2, because what we're about to explore is going to take everything you learned about snake plant placement and elevate it to a level where you're not just avoiding blocks, you're actively creating magnetic abundance portals in your home that work for you even while you sleep, even when you're not consciously thinking about money. Even during those times when doubt creeps in and you wonder if any of this spiritual stuff actually works. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. Part 1 was about protection, about making sure you're not accidentally sabotaging yourself. But Part 2 is about activation, about turning your home into a prosperity engine that runs continuously in the background of your life, attracting opportunities and synchronicities and financial blessings that seem to come out of nowhere, but are actually the natural result of correct energetic alignment, meeting consistent spiritual practice, meeting unwavering faith in your own worthiness to receive. The first thing I want to address in Part 2, and this is something that trips people up constantly, is the question of what to do if your home layout makes it impossible to place your snake plant in one of the ideal power locations. Maybe your bedroom wealth corner is where your bed has to go for practical reasons. Maybe your living room wealth corner has a radiator or an air vent. Maybe you live in a tiny studio where there aren't really separate rooms to work with. And I want you to hear this clearly. Your home's limitations do not limit your abundance. The universe is infinitely creative and can work with whatever you've got. The power locations I described in Part 1 are optimal, yes, but they're not the only way. If you can't access the far left corner of your bedroom, then work with the far left area of your nightstand or dresser top. If you can't use the living room wealth corner, then use the wealth corner of your entryway or dining room. The principle matters more than the exact, literal interpretation. You're looking for corners that represent accumulation, areas that feel abundant and flowing, spaces where you spend significant time and can build a relationship with your plant. Don't let perfectionism stop you from taking action. A snake plant in a pretty good location with strong intention will outperform a snake plant in a perfect location with half-hearted energy every single time. Let me tell you about Maria from San Antonio, Texas, because her situation is going to resonate with a lot of you who are dealing with space constraints. Maria lived in a 400-square-foot studio apartment. No separate bedroom, no separate living room, just one big room that functioned as everything. She watched Part 1 of this series and felt discouraged because she didn't have the traditional room divisions to work with. But Maria is resourceful and determined, so she got creative. She identified the area of her studio where she slept, and she placed her snake plant in the far left corner of that sleeping area, which happened to be on a bookshelf about 3 feet from her pillow. Then she created a visual boundary using a folding screen to separate her sleeping area from her living area, essentially creating energetic rooms within her physical room. Within 2 weeks of setting up this arrangement, Maria got offered a work-from-home position that gave her more flexibility and a $5,000 raise. A month later, her landlord offered her a bigger unit in the same building for the same rent because another tenant was moving out. Maria's story proves that it's not about having the perfect space. It's about working intentionally with whatever space you have and trusting that your commitment to the practice matters more than your square footage. Now let's talk about how to amplify the power of your snake plant once it's correctly placed, because simply putting it in the right location is like buying a gym membership. It's a great first step, but you've got to actually show up and do the work to get results. The first amplification technique is something I call prosperity feeding, and this is going to sound almost too simple to be effective. But I promise you, the people who do this consistently see results that blow their minds. Once a week, when you water your snake plant, take a moment to charge that water with intention before you pour it. Hold the watering can or glass or pitcher in both hands. Close your eyes. Visualize golden light flowing from your heart, down your arms, and into the water. See the water beginning to glow and shimmer with prosperity frequency. Then speak into the water. Say something like, "This water carries the frequency of abundance. As my plant absorbs this water, it grows stronger in its power to attract wealth to me. This water is programmed with prosperity, and it activates every cell of this plant to become a magnet for money, opportunity, and financial blessing." Then water your plant as you normally would, but know that you're not just giving it hydration. You're feeding it energetic instruction. You're programming it at a cellular level to be your prosperity partner. You can amplify this even further by adding a tiny pinch of cinnamon to the water once a month, on the new moon, if possible. Cinnamon has been used in money magic across virtually every culture for thousands of years. It carries a frequency that attracts wealth like nothing else. Just the tiniest amount, maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon mixed into a full watering can, is enough. The cinnamon infuses the water infuses the plant, and the plant radiates that cinnamon prosperity frequency throughout your space continuously. And here's a little secret that makes this even more powerful. As you're pouring the cinnamon-charged water onto your plant, visualize specific amounts of money flowing to you with the same ease that the water flows from the container. See bills being paid effortlessly. See your bank account growing. See opportunities arriving. Match the physical flow of water with the visualization of financial flow, and you're creating a powerful, energetic circuit that your subconscious mind absorbs and begins to manifest. There's a man named Thomas from Seattle, Washington, who took this prosperity feeding practice to another level entirely and manifested results that seemed impossible. Thomas was a teacher making $42,000 a year, buried in student loan debt, feeling stuck and hopeless about ever getting ahead financially. He got his snake plant, placed it in his bedroom wealth corner, and committed to the weekly prosperity feeding ritual. Every Thursday evening, he would prepare his charged water, adding cinnamon on the new moon. But Thomas added something extra. As he watered his plant, he would speak out loud exactly what he wanted to manifest in the coming week. He'd say things like, "This week I attract an extra $500 through unexpected channels. This week I receive a financial blessing that surprises and delights me. This week money flows to me easily from multiple sources." He did this every single week for 6 months. During those 6 months, Thomas received a small inheritance from a distant relative he barely knew, $3,000. His school district implemented a new stipend program for teachers who took on extra responsibilities, and Thomas qualified for $7,000. He started tutoring on weekends and made an extra $15,000 over the course of those months. A tax error from 3 years prior was discovered and corrected, resulting in a $4,500 refund. In 6 months, Thomas manifested over $30,000 in additional income and windfalls while continuing to work his regular teaching job. He paid off a huge chunk of his debt and finally felt like he could breathe financially. And he credits all of it to his weekly ritual of prosperity, feeding his snake plant with intention and specificity. Now, before we go further, I want to hear from you, because your engagement actually strengthens not just your manifestation, but the collective energy of everyone in this community. Drop a comment and tell me, what's the first thing you're going to do when you manifest an extra $1,000? Be specific. Will you pay off a credit card? Take your family to dinner? Put it in savings? Invest it? Buy something you've been wanting? Tell me in the comments, because when you declare your intention publicly like this, you're activating it on multiple levels. You're telling your subconscious that this is real, that you're expecting it, that you're ready for it. You're telling the universe that you're not just hoping or wishing, but actually preparing to receive. And you're inspiring others in this community with your specificity and commitment. So go ahead, write it in the comments now. What's the first thing you'll do with your next $1,000? All right, the second amplification technique is something I call mirror manifestation. And this works specifically with snake plants because of their reflective, sword-like leaves. Once or twice a week, stand in front of your snake plant and use it as a focal point for mirror work. Here's how it works. Look at your plant. Really look at it and see it as a reflection of your own growth and resilience. Snake plants are survivors. They thrive with minimal water. They adapt to different light conditions. They purify their environment. They protect their space. That's you. That's who you're becoming. As you look at the plant, say affirmations out loud as if the plant is speaking them back to you. Say things like, "I am resilient like this plant. I thrive in all conditions. I attract abundance naturally and easily. I am a powerful manifester. Money flows to me constantly." But here's the key. Don't just say the words mechanically. Feel them. Let them resonate in your body. Touch the plant while you speak if that feels right. Create a physical and energetic connection. You're essentially using the plant as an anchor for your prosperity consciousness, and every time you do this practice, you're deepening that anchor, making it stronger and more stable. The reason this works so powerfully is that your subconscious mind thinks in symbols and images more than in words. When you link the symbol of a thriving, resilient snake plant with your verbal affirmations about wealth and abundance, your subconscious creates a permanent association. Every time you see the plant throughout your day, even if you're not consciously thinking about manifestation, your subconscious sees it and automatically activates those prosperity beliefs. It's like having a billboard in your home that's constantly advertising your abundance to your own mind. And the more you do the mirror manifestation practice, the stronger that automatic association becomes, until eventually you can't look at your snake plant without feeling wealthy, confident, and certain that your prosperity is inevitable. There's a woman named Linda from Phoenix, Arizona, whose story demonstrates the transformative power of this mirror manifestation technique. Linda was a single mom working 2 part-time jobs, exhausted all the time, barely making ends meet, feeling like she was failing at everything. She got her snake plant and placed it where she could see it from her bed. Every morning before she got up, she would look at that plant and do a quick 2-minute mirror manifestation session. She'd say, "I am strong like you. I am thriving like you. I attract abundance as naturally as you produce oxygen. Thank you for reflecting my prosperity back to me." At first, the words felt hollow and fake. She didn't believe them, but she committed to doing it every single day for 30 days, treating it like an experiment. Around day 15, something shifted. She started to believe the words. She started to feel different. She walked into her jobs with more confidence. She spoke up about her needs. She set boundaries she'd been too scared to set before. By day 30, one of her employers offered her full-time hours with benefits. By day 45, her ex-husband, who'd been dodging child support for 2 years, suddenly started paying consistently. By day 60, Linda was able to quit her second job because she was making enough at the first one to cover her expenses with money left over for the first time in years. Linda didn't just manifest more money. She manifested a new version of herself, a version who expected abundance and commanded respect, and that internal shift created the external changes. Now let's talk about timing, because when you do your snake plant rituals matters almost as much as where you place the plant and how you work with it. There are specific times when the veil between intention and manifestation is thinner, when your practices have amplified power, when the universe is essentially listening more closely to your requests. The most powerful time for any wealth work with your snake plant is during the new moon, particularly a new moon in an earth sign like Taurus, Virgo, or Capricorn. The new moon represents new beginnings, fresh starts, blank slates. It's when the moon is completely dark, and in that darkness, there's infinite potential. When you set intentions during a new moon, you're planting seeds that will grow and manifest over the lunar cycle. So on the evening of a new moon, do a special ceremony with your snake plant. Clean the area around it. Light a candle if you can do so safely. Write down your financial goals for the coming month on a piece of paper. Read them out loud to your plant. Then fold the paper and place it under the plant's pot. Leave it there for the entire lunar cycle until the next new moon, when you'll replace it with new gold. The second most powerful time is during a waxing moon, which is the 2-week period between the new moon and the full moon, when the moon is growing larger in the sky. This is the phase of increase, expansion, growth. It's the perfect time to do your prosperity-feeding rituals, your mirror manifestation work, your affirmations. Everything you do during the waxing moon gets amplified because you're working with the natural rhythm of increase that's happening in the cosmos. Think of it like planting with the seasons. You could try to grow tomatoes in December, and maybe you'd have some success with a greenhouse and special equipment. But how much easier is it to plant in spring when nature is already doing the work of growing? Same principle with lunar cycles. You can do your manifestation work anytime, but when you align with the waxing moon, you're flowing with a cosmic current that makes everything easier and more effective. The full moon is a different energy entirely, and this is where a lot of people get confused. The full moon is not the time to ask for new things. It's the time to celebrate what's come, release what's not working, and cleanse your energy for the next cycle. On the night of the full moon, if possible, place your snake plant where it can absorb moonlight, even if that means temporarily moving it to a window. Let it charge in that full moon energy for at least an hour. While it's there, write 2 lists. The first list is everything you're grateful for financially, every bit of money that came to you that month, every opportunity, every blessing. Read this list out loud to your plant with genuine gratitude. Then place it under the pot. The second list is everything you're ready to release: financial fears, limiting beliefs, debts that are weighing on you, scarcity mindset. Read this list out loud, then safely burn it, letting the smoke carry those limitations away. This full moon ritual creates a beautiful cycle of gratitude, release, and renewal that keeps your prosperity practice fresh and powerful month after month. Now, if you're loving this information, if this is resonating with you on a deep level, if you can feel the truth of it in your body, then I need you to share this video with one person in your life who needs to hear this message. Think of someone who's struggling financially, someone who's stressed about money, someone who could benefit from learning how to work with their environment to support their abundance. Send them this video, tag them in a comment, share it on your social media. Because here's what happens when you share wisdom. You don't lose it, you amplify it. The act of giving this information away actually strengthens your own relationship with these principles, because you're demonstrating to the universe that you're not coming from scarcity hoarding knowledge in case there's not enough. You're coming from overflow, from abundance, from the understanding that there's more than enough prosperity to go around. So take a moment right now and share this video with someone who needs it. Your generosity will come back to you multiplied. Let's talk about what to do when your snake plant starts showing signs of struggle or stress, because this is important, and most people don't realize that their plant's health is giving them feedback about their energetic state and their manifestation practice. If your snake plant's leaves start turning yellow or brown at the tips, it usually means you're overwatering, which spiritually represents trying too hard, forcing outcomes, being too attached to how and when your abundance should arrive. The plant is showing you that you need to relax, surrender, trust the process more, cut back on the watering, and emotionally cut back on the desperate energy. Practice more faith and less control. If your plant's leaves start to droop or wilt, it usually means you're underwatering, which spiritually represents neglecting your manifestation practice, not giving your abundance intentions enough attention and care. The plant is telling you to recommit, to show up more consistently, to feed your prosperity consciousness more regularly, water the plant more frequently, and emotionally, water your abundance practice with more attention and intention. If your plant develops spots or disease, it's often a sign that there's a negative energy in your space that needs to be cleared. Maybe there's unresolved conflict in your home. Maybe you're consuming too much negative media. Maybe you're spending time with people who drain your energy. The plant is absorbing and reflecting that toxicity back to you as a warning. Address the energetic pollution in your environment. Clear the air, literally and figuratively. And if your plant actually dies despite your best care efforts, don't panic, and don't take it as a sign that you're cursed or that abundance isn't meant for you. Sometimes plants sacrifice themselves to absorb and transmute major energetic blocks. In many spiritual traditions, a plant that dies suddenly is believed to have taken on a burden that would have otherwise affected the people in the home. Thank the plant for its service. Return it to the earth respectfully, and get a new plant to start fresh with a cleaner energetic slate. There's a man named Robert from Atlanta, Georgia, whose plant death experience taught him a profound lesson. Robert had been working with his snake plant for about 3 months with moderate results, small manifestations here and there but nothing major. Then suddenly, the plant turned completely brown in a matter of days, despite his consistent care. He was devastated, thought he'd done something wrong. But 3 days after the plant died, Robert got news that a lawsuit that had been filed against his small business was being dropped. The plaintiff had decided not to pursue it for reasons that were never fully explained. Robert realized the lawsuit had been hanging over him, draining his energy, causing constant low-level stress and fear that was blocking his abundance. The plant had essentially absorbed and transformed that energy, clearing the path for his prosperity. Robert got a new snake plant, placed it in the same location, and within 2 months of the lawsuit being dropped and the new plant being in place, his business had its most profitable quarter ever. The old plant had cleared the block. The new plant maintained the flow. Now let's talk about combining your snake plant with other prosperity elements to create what I call a wealth altar. or abundance corner that's working for you on multiple levels simultaneously. Your snake plant is the anchor, the primary living energy that's attracting and holding the prosperity frequency. But you can amplify its power by adding complementary elements that work synergistically with it. First, consider adding a small piece of citrine crystal to the soil of your plant, or placing it on the surface near the base. Citrine is known as the merchant stone and is one of the most powerful crystals for attracting wealth and abundance. It carries a solar golden energy that pairs beautifully with the earthy grounding energy of the snake plant. Together they create a balanced frequency of growth and manifestation. Second, you might add a small dish of coins near your plant, representing the physical manifestation of wealth. Every time you get change, put a few coins in the dish. Watch it accumulate. As it grows, so does your prosperity consciousness. You're training your brain to see abundance accumulating, which makes it easier to attract larger sums. Third, consider placing a small mirror behind or near your plant, angled so that it reflects the plant and makes it appear doubled. In feng shui, mirrors are used to double or multiply whatever they reflect. When you reflect your prosperity plant, you're symbolically doubling your abundance attraction power. Just make sure the mirror doesn't reflect any negative elements, like clutter, trash cans, or toilets. You only want to multiply the positive. Fourth, if it feels right to you, you might add a small statue or image of a prosperity deity, or symbol from whatever spiritual tradition resonates with you. A laughing Buddha, a Ganesh statue, an image of Lakshmi, a lucky cat, whatever represents abundance in your belief system. The point isn't to mix traditions randomly or appropriate from cultures that aren't yours. The point is to add symbols that your subconscious mind recognizes as representing wealth, so that every time you see your abundance corner, your brain gets multiple simultaneous messages that prosperity is present, welcomed, and growing in your space. There's a woman named Angela from Miami, Florida, who created an abundance corner with her snake plant that became so powerful, she jokes that it's like having an ATM in her bedroom. Angela started with just the plant in the correct location. Then she added a citrine crystal, then a small mirror behind the plant, then a dish where she collected coins, then a golden Buddha statue she'd inherited from her grandmother. She treated this corner like a sacred space, dusting it regularly, thanking it daily, adding new coins weekly. Within 4 months of creating this abundance altar, Angela's financial situation had completely transformed. She got promoted at work with a $20,000 raise. She started a side business that brought in an extra $2,000 a month. An insurance claim she'd written off years ago was suddenly approved for $8,000, a stock her late grandmother had bought decades ago, and that had been sitting in a forgotten account was discovered and was worth $12,000. Angela manifested over $60,000 in additional wealth in 4 months, and she attributes it to the cumulative power of all the elements in her abundance corner working together synergistically. Now, we need to address something that comes up frequently and causes a lot of confusion, and that's what to do if you live with other people who don't share your spiritual beliefs or who might be skeptical or even hostile toward your manifestation practices. First, understand that you don't need anyone's permission to create abundance in your life. This is your path, your practice, your prosperity. You're not asking anyone to participate or believe. You're simply doing what works for you. Second, you don't have to explain or justify your snake plant. It's just a plant. It's decoration. It improves air quality. Those are all completely true and completely acceptable reasons to have a plant in your home that don't require any explanation of the spiritual significance. Third, you can do all of your manifestation work silently if needed. Your morning and evening acknowledgments of your plant can be done as thought rather than spoken aloud. Your mirror manifestation can be done with internal affirmations. The universe hears your intentions regardless of whether you speak them aloud or think them clearly. But here's what I've found. When you start manifesting real results, when your financial situation actually improves, the skeptics often become curious. They want to know what you're doing differently. They notice you seem happier, more confident, less stressed about money, and often, without you even bringing it up, they'll ask about your plant or your practices. That's when you can share, from a place of demonstration rather than explanation. You're not trying to convince anyone of anything. You're simply living the results, and the results speak for themselves. And if the people in your life never become interested, if they remain skeptical forever, that's okay too. Your abundance doesn't require their belief. Their skepticism doesn't limit your prosperity. You're on your own path, and that's perfectly fine. There's a couple, James and Emily from Boston, Massachusetts, whose story illustrates this dynamic perfectly. James was into spiritual practices and manifestation work. Emily was a scientist, very logical and skeptical, thought all of it was nonsense. When James got his snake plant and started his prosperity practices, Emily rolled her eyes and made jokes about him talking to a plant. But James didn't argue or try to convince her. He just quietly did his practices, cared for his plant, and focused on his abundance. Over the next few months, James's freelance income tripled. He started attracting high-paying clients consistently. He had his most profitable year ever. Emily couldn't deny the results. She started asking questions. What was he doing differently? James shared about his snake plant practices. Emily, being a scientist, decided to treat it as an experiment. She got her own snake plant, placed it according to James's guidance, and started doing the basic practices, still skeptical but willing to test it. Within 6 weeks, Emily got offered a research grant she'd been pursuing for over a year. Within 3 months, she received an unexpected bonus at work. By 6 months, Emily had become a believer, not because James convinced her through argument, but because her own experience proved it to her. Now they both have snake plants, and they do their prosperity practices together. As we move toward the conclusion of this transmission, I want to make sure I close all the loops I opened and bring everything together into a cohesive understanding that you can carry with you and apply consistently. We talked about the 8 blocked locations where snake plants can sabotage your wealth, directly across from the front door, in the center of your home, directly in bedroom windows, in bathrooms, especially near toilets, on shared walls with neighbors, next to electronics, blocking office doors, and in corners behind doors. We talked about the 3 primary power locations: bedroom wealth corner, living room wealth corner, and kitchen near the stove. We talked about amplification techniques like prosperity feeding with charged water and cinnamon, mirror manifestation with affirmations, and creating wealth altars with complementary elements. We talked about timing with lunar cycles, using new moons for setting intentions, waxing moons for growth work, and full moons for gratitude and release. And we talked about plant health as feedback, reading the signs your plant gives you about your energetic state and your practice. But beyond all the techniques and locations and timing and practices, there's one core truth that I need you to understand at the deepest level. Your snake plant is not your savior. You are. The plant is a tool, a powerful tool, but it's not doing the work for you. You are the manifester. You are the creator. You are the one who shifts energy and transforms possibility into reality. The snake plant supports you, reminds you, holds space for you, reflects your intentions back to you. But ultimately, you're the one making it all happen through your consciousness, your beliefs, your actions, your commitment. So don't wait for the plant to manifest for you. Work with the plant to manifest through you. Show up to your practices. Tend your abundance corner. Speak your affirmations. Do the work. And trust that your consistent effort combined with correct energetic alignment creates results that are absolutely inevitable. And here's my final request before we close. Go to the comments right now and write one word that represents how you feel about your financial future after watching this series. Just one word. Hopeful, excited, confident, ready, abundant, grateful. Whatever word captures your current state. Because that word, that declaration, it's setting the tone for your manifestation journey going forward. It's telling your subconscious what to expect. It's signaling to the universe what you're calling in. So choose your word carefully and post it in the comments right now. Your snake plant is waiting to partner with you in creating the abundant life you deserve. Move it out of any blocked locations today, not tomorrow. Place it in a power location with intention and ceremony. Begin your daily practices of acknowledgement, affirmation, and appreciation. Trust the process. Stay consistent. And watch as your financial reality begins to shift in ways that seem magical, but are actually the natural result of aligning your environment, your energy, and your expectations with the prosperity that's always been yours. Abundance is not something you chase. It's something you remember. It's something you align with. It's something you become. And your snake plant, standing guard in its perfect location, is there to remind you every single day that you are worthy, you are capable, you are abundant, and your wealth is not only possible, but inevitable. I'll see you in the next video where we're exploring prosperity bowl rituals and how to manifest specific amounts of cash quickly. Until then, move your plant, do the work, and prepare to receive everything you've been calling in. Your abundant life is not coming, it's already here. You just needed to remove the blocks and activate the flow. Welcome home to your prosperity. Welcome home to your wealth. Welcome home to the truth of who you really are, an infinite being with unlimited access to universal abundance. Now go, take action, and let the transformation begin.